Today is Saturday, June 21st, 2026, and today is National Daylight Appreciation Day, which naturally brings us to farming equipment, Ferris wheels, and early computers, as all great conversations do. And if you're wondering what daylight has to do with any of those things, the answer is absolutely nothing. But after digging through today's stories, I noticed that they all had something in common. Not military machines, not machines built to conquer anything. Machines designed to help people. One helped feed the world. One helped people have fun. And one helped launch the digital age. Welcome to Wait, That's Random, This Day in History. I'm C.L. Burns, voice actor, audiobook narrator, and a person who keeps discovering that history is somehow both fascinating and deeply concerning at the same time. On June 21st, 1834, Cyrus McCormick received a patent for the mechanical reaper. Now that may not sound particularly exciting at first. It's a farming machine, and farming equipment rarely gets blockbuster movie treatment. But this invention changed the world. Before machines like the reaper, harvesting grain was incredibly labor-intensive. Workers cut crops by hand using sickles or scythes. It was exhausting work. Time-sensitive work, and it required a lot of people. A mechanical reaper dramatically reduced the amount of labor needed to harvest fields. A farmer who previously needed a team of workers could suddenly accomplish much more with fewer hands. That increased efficiency helped farms grow larger and produce more food. And when food production becomes more efficient, something interesting happens. People who would have been working in fields can do other things. Build businesses, work in factories, become teachers, become engineers. Entire economies begin to change. One thing I find fascinating is how often transformative inventions look ordinary in hindsight. The mechanical reaper doesn't seem flashy. It doesn't have the glamour of a rocket ship. Yet it arguably had a greater impact on everyday life than many inventions that receive far more attention. Sometimes the inventions that change the world are the ones people barely notice. And once people have enough food, they usually start looking for entertainment. On June 21st, 1893, the world's first Ferris wheel debuted at the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago. The project was designed as a response to a challenge. The 1889 World's Fair in Paris had introduced the Eiffel Tower. America wanted something equally memorable. Something people had never seen before. Engineer George Washington Gale Ferris Jr. proposed a giant rotating wheel. Many people thought the idea sounded ridiculous. A massive wheel carrying passengers high above the city? What could possibly go wrong? As it turns out, not much. The wheel was a success, a huge success. Standing more than 260 feet tall, it carried thousands of visitors during the fair. Passengers enjoyed views unlike anything most people had ever experienced. Remember, this was long before observation decks became common, long before commercial air travel. For many riders, it was their first opportunity to look out over a city from that height. One detail I love is that the Ferris wheel was originally considered a bold engineering experiment. Today, it's something you might find at a county fair. That's often the path of innovation. The extraordinary eventually becomes ordinary. And because George Ferris's name became attached to the invention, every Ferris wheel in the world continues carrying a little piece of his legacy. And then there are inventions that begin quietly, before changing almost everything. On June 21st, 1948, the Manchester babies successfully ran the first stored computer program. Now, I realize Manchester baby sounds less like a computer and more like a horse competing in a local race. But it was actually one of the most important machines ever built. Prior to this breakthrough, computers were extremely limited. Changing what a machine did often required physically rewriting it or making substantial adjustments. The stored program concept changed that. Instead of rebuilding the machine, instructions could be stored electronically. The computer could read those instructions and execute them. That sounds obvious today. It's the foundation of every modern computer. Your laptop, your phone, your tablet, the systems running websites, the software used to record podcasts. All of it depends on this basic idea. The first program the Manchester baby ran was relatively simple by modern standards. No graphics, no music, no social media, no streaming services. Just a mathematical calculation. Yet hidden inside that simple task was the beginning of something enormous. And one thing I appreciate about this story is how small the moment probably felt at the time. The people involved knew it mattered, but I doubt anyone fully grasped what would follow. The internet, smartphones, artificial intelligence, entire industries. Sometimes history's biggest revolutions begin with a machine quietly doing exactly what it was told. And after spending today's episode around inventions that changed everyday life, it feels fitting to end with someone whose work became part of everyday life for millions of people. Born on June 21st, 1944 in London, Ray Davies became one of the most influential songwriters of the rock era. As the driving creative force behind the Kinks, Davies helped create songs that continued to resonate decades after they were first recorded. What made his writing distinctive was his attention to ordinary life. Many songwriters focused on grand themes. Davies often focused on people, neighborhoods, relationships, the strange little details of everyday existence. Songs like Waterloo Sunset and Lola became cultural landmarks not simply because they were catchy, but because they captured something recognizable about human experience. And one thing I admire about Davies is that he never seemed interested in writing from a distance. His songs often feel observed rather than manufactured, specific rather than generic. And perhaps that's why they continue finding new audiences. Good technology changes how we live. Good art helps us understand it. Looking back at today's stories, I noticed that they all involve making life a little easier. The Reaper reduced back-breaking labor. The Ferris wheel created a new kind of entertainment. The stored program computer made entirely new forms of technology possible. None of these inventions solved every problem, but they expanded what people could do. And that's often how progress works. Not through one giant leap, but through countless small improvements that gradually reshape everyday life. Anyway, that's what I ended up finding while working through June 21st. And before I go, here's today's oddly appropriate quote. "The real problem is not whether machines think, but whether men do." B.F. Skinner. If you'd like to hear more of my work or explore the various projects I continue accidentally collecting, you can find everything at waitthat'srandom.com. I'm C.L. Burns. Thanks for spending part of your day here. I'll see you tomorrow.